Hi, Pam.
I didn't even notice you were there.
Sorry, I hope I didn't scare you. Hey, Kristen.
Hi.
I'm opening a meeting. Okay. Hi, Beth.
Hi.
Hey, Liz.
Sorry.
Let's go.
I am making you host, Beth.
Yes.
Okay, sorry I missed the select board
There you
meeting.
go.
I'm assuming you
I
voted
can't hear you.
Todd. You can't hear me?
It's my fault. I have to mute for the last meeting.
Oh,
I was wondering why I couldn't hear anybody. So,
can you hear me now?
yes, I can now.
Okay. Did you vote Todd in? I missed, I came in. Okay, good.
He can't vote yet.
Right.
He has to be sworn in, but he's in 100%.
Great. Yeah, I think he couldn't make it tonight anyway. He had something else.
Oh,
And then
he was at the select board meeting.
yeah, he said he had something at 7. So that's fine because he can't vote anyway. But I was just a few minutes late to that select board meeting and I missed
It's
the vote.
moving fast. I'm so sorry. I was.
Oh, no, that's okay. I
Crowd.
just wanted to make sure that he got voted, so that's great.
Yes, it did happen. All right. Good night.
Good night, thanks.
Thanks.
All right, I see Bob. I see Jan. How's it going, Bob?
Going good, thanks. I've got all of my 3 girls home from school and work and camp, and it's been pretty amazing. So it's great.
Time to go back to school.
Yep, back to school in a week, but I'll enjoy being with them till then.
Yeah, definitely. That's nice. I dropped my daughter off at college on Monday.
Oh wow,
For,
that's
yeah,
good.
freshman year. So I'm a
Freshman
little bit like,
year. Wow.
yeah. Crazy.
My middle one will be a senior this next year, so her drop off for college is coming up a year from now.
Mm-hmm. It's big.
Where did your daughter go?
She's at American University in DC.
Oh, nice. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. When we drove down, we drove through that Connecticut flood.
Hmm.
It was crazy. It was really, really crazy. We made the mistake of exiting off of 684 because the highway had come to a complete stop. Nobody was moving at all. So we thought, oh, well, we'll just get off and go through some of the smaller towns. And we were like 2 towns away from Oxford where those people died by
Oh my goodness.
floating away. And it was crazy. We were driving and we had to turn around at some points and we were basically trying to find roads that were higher elevation and all this just to get to where we needed to go. It was nuts. But I guess they got 10 inches of rain.
Yeah, if you ask me what states flood out, Connecticut would not be one of the ones that I picked.
I know. I know. Crazy. All right, well, I think Scott is coming tonight. I guess maybe he's just a little bit late. So there's three of us here, so we can open the meeting at 7 o'clock on August 22nd, 2024. And I am opening the meeting of the Shutesbury Conservation Commission, and this meeting is being recorded. And first on our agenda is minutes. So we don't have a clerk. But I know it's been advertised, but that's all I know. And and what I was just talking with Becky about is that at the select board meeting tonight, they voted in and approved Todd Titchen. I still don't know how to say his last name, as our new commissioner. So that's great. Now do we just need a clerk, and we'd be 100%. And that would be good. So he'll come, I'm assuming, to our next meeting. I'll make sure he gets sworn in and all that. But so for minutes, I don't think we have any minutes for approval tonight. Carrie is finishing up a whole lot of old minutes, and as she finishes them, she's just gonna mail them to me, and we can just keep bringing them to meetings. And then Doc is doing the minutes from the last meeting. So Jan, are you good for tonight's meeting? Thank you. That's great.
Thank you, Jen.
What else was I going to talk about? Oh, well, so I was going to have Jan tell us all about Dudleyville Dam and have we had any other site visits between the last meeting last Thursday and anyway, do
Well,
your summary.
Dudleyville is almost good enough by itself.
It is, yeah. Tell us about it.
Beth and I went out and had a look before things got rolling way back when. They got rolling on Monday. I went out and inspected the erosion controls, which were kind of weird, but you know, they put stuff out. The lay of the land was such that unless there was a tidal wave, pretty much nothing was going to happen. So, and it really didn't. Tuesday morning, they took out what is looking downstream the right side of the dam, which let the water free, and the stream was then running. It drained the pond behind. And today they were moving the junk that was left over on what is the left side looking downstream. I guess they're going to still do some cleanup there, but there was a cat moving things when I was there this morning, so that was nice. And what I didn't realize was the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service kicked in about 50 grand, and the state kicked in about 50 grand for the grand total. So that's where the money came from.
Did they take out the beaver deceiver?
They did. They had it sitting up to the left if you're looking downstream on that little bit of a hill. They
Okay.
had the whole stuff piled up there. They must have pulled it out with the cat. Don't know what they're going to plan to do with it, but there it sits. It's a lot of mud right now. This wasn't a site visit, but I did happen to walk out on the Kestrel Land Trail, and Beth had already approved removing what were a few ratty socks. And now they're growing mushrooms and stuff. So I think I'd just take a sharp knife and open them up and leave them there if it were me, but you know, you gave them the permission to take them out.
Whatever they want, yeah. They asked if they could do what they wanted to do, and I said, yeah, I think you can do, it's time to do that.
And did we do anything else? Well, we went to see 31.
Yep.
Lakeview. So we can talk about that when we get there.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, I'm interested in that beaver deceiver. Trying to remember who paid for that. Because if Lois did, then she really owns the pipe and all the whole cage and everything, so it can't be reused in other places in town. But if if it was a grant that the town helped to get or anything like that, then I don't know, potentially it's good to reuse that kind of stuff. We have a number of beaver dams that tend to pop up, and it's good to have that kind of stuff around to reuse if you need to.
The expectation seems to be that the beavers will be back.
Right, that's true.
So
Right.
it might
Might
be
wanna-
premature to give that thing away.
Or move it or anything. Yeah,
Well, it is out of the water,
right.
so.
Yeah, it's just reusable equipment, I guess, is what I was thinking. Yeah, I was surprised how the whole area drained. And I do wonder about the other beaver dam. Because to me, it's holding back a whole lot of water and could actually be considered a little bit of a hazard, but I don't know, who to really talk to too much about that. But yeah, but once the dam was down, that whole thing really drained, had a big impact on that wetland area. But pretty cool to watch how quickly it came down. And
Yeah.
it's, you know, cool. All right. I see Scott is here. Scott, you want to give us a little summary about conservation area stuff? I know you've been sending a bunch of emails.
Yeah, I don't have anything definitive. I did look at our annual monitoring for the conservation restrictions that are assigned to the Conservation Commission. So we have a few of those. Sumner Mountain is one that's done annually by a consultant, and so I don't know. I think Charlie Eisman does that, Beth, and I think he typically gives that in October. The last time that was done was last October, so I think that one's set. I did reach out to Kestrel to find out about the Bakersfield CR. I think they do that monitoring for us. And so just asked for the site report on that. I think you and I and Bob had walked part of that here before, earlier in the year for for a site visit kind of related to that property. And then the Old Peach Orchard CR is the other that's right here off Fox Pond. And I did reach out to the homeowners association there, and thank you to the commissioners for putting forward some dates that could work, and hopefully I'll hear back from them and we can get that scheduled.
Great. And I think I forwarded to you that CPAC was asking about the parking lot for
Yeah,
South, what is that one called? West Quabbin?
West Quabbin Woodlands. I did talk with I met with Penny before. They had met with Kestrel, and she was talking with Steve about some other, with the highway department about some other items, and was going to visit with him about the curb cut. We did talk about a curb cut potentially for a parking area in the southeasterly part of that property. It seemed to be the best place with a sight line, but there are hills on either side of that, and it's not perfect, just for safety reasons. So I think that was the first step, is to see if we could kind of figure out where that would be. So I did talk with Penny. I think she was reaching back out to Steve on that.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure if there's like a time limit for using the CPAC money. I think that's why Mateo was interested. He also just wanted to update the CPAC on it, but I also feel like he said before something about, I can't remember, time limits to use it up.
Well, that would be good to know. I wasn't aware of a time limit to get that parking lot in, and what that, be good to dig into a little bit more about what that covers beyond the parking, because I do know we talked about a potential trail there, and but that hasn't been laid out. I think there will be some resource areas that we would have to cross with the trail, and so there's more work that needs to be taken on before that would be ready to be spent.
Mhm.
Can I jump in, Scott, and make a comment?
Yeah.
Then Miriam. So there's $5,000, and I think you need to check with the CPA committee about whether they believe the terms of the grant would allow you to use it for trail development, because I think that the original application really framed it very vaguely as signage and parking lot development. Signage is kind of a broad category. And if they say, no, it can't be used for that, since there is going to be a special town meeting coming up this fall, you could conceivably take it back to the special town meeting and get an amendment to the grant to use leftover funds for trail development.
Do you know if there's a time limit on using the CPA funds, Miriam?
I think it's something like 3 to 5 years, and what the grant, but I think that the big issue was that you need to be making progress on it, but obviously
Right.
there has been progress and efforts made, and so that's not really the issue. There was a clawback if you didn't do anything within a year, but
Mhm.
yeah, I don't think you need to worry too much about it getting clawed back. The question is, what can you use it for? And I would ask Mateo for an opinion about that, and you know, if they feel they can approve that, great. If not, see if you can put a warrant on the special town meeting.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, it's 7:14. Awful close to 7:15. I think there's a CPA meeting tonight that I couldn't get to because of this meeting, but so they are going to talk a little bit about. Mateo was just going to share that info to them tonight. I did tell him about the curb cut and that we had been looking into it and stuff like that, so he'll share that with them. All right, it's close enough to 7. Oh, it is 7:15. Okay, 7:15, 678 Pratt Corner Road, RDA, tree removal. Who is here to present that?
I thought we were on the agenda for 7:15.
You guys are on at 7:30.
Oh, sorry.
And I'm wondering, looking at the names, if anyone is here. I don't see Jake or anyone. That's too bad. I'll give them a couple minutes, but while we're waiting, did you all see there was an email from Bruce Stedman of the he's of a few different worlds. He's definitely Fort River Watershed Association. I think he might be Connecticut River Conservation. He's on the Amherst Conservation Commission. I don't know, so I don't know if you guys saw that, but he was asking for, they're doing a Fort River Watershed Association got $5,000 or something, some kind of a grant to just do some more studying of the watershed. And so they wanted a representative from the Conservation Commission. And anyway, I know Bruce and I know the Fort River Watershed Association folks and everybody, and I've done a lot of work for the Fort River Watershed in general. So I told him, that what I did was I emailed him and said, oh, there's Jake. Oh, good. What I did was email him and said, the meetings are during the day. Like, I think that would be hard for anybody on the commission to go to. The first one was like at 10 in the morning. And I assumed the others were going to be during the week too. So he was actually going to take that info back and talk to the group and see if they could have them later in the day or on the weekends or something. So we'll wait and see, but I don't mind going to those. I'm kind of interested in the whole thing that they're doing there. But I'll keep you updated on that. All right, Jake, you're here.
How we doing? How we doing?
We're good. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Okay, good. Actually, I should say my little spiel. Forgot to get that out. All right, past 7:15. This meeting for 678 Brackmore Road is being held as required by the provisions of Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth, an act relative to the protection of wetlands, as most recently amended, and the wetlands bylaw and associated regulations for the town of Shutesbury. Okay, so Jake, can you present the project?
You gotta present.
We're just gonna cut some trees down. It's a human issue, you know, and then we got a lot of water in the basement, so we gotta figure that out. So it should be all on that. It should be all on the project plan. If you guys probably all read it, right? You guys probably read it, yeah.
Yeah, we have all the stuff that you sent. We have your update. So you had your first application was to remove the 22 trees. And then your update to that before we, opened the hearing or the meeting or anything was to add some trenching around the back on the side of your house.
Yeah, we had that when you guys came over. We talked about that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So why don't you, I guess you could talk about the trees first or the trench, and just maybe the trench is easier for you to just describe like the width and how you're going to dig it and how you're going to fill it and what kind of
So
pipe.
it's pretty much like 4 feet around the house, so it shouldn't affect the wetlands, what you guys decided before. And then whatever trees I want to cut down, I pretty much told you guys when you came over for the site visit. So I guess it's up to you guys, whatever you want to do.
Well, for the trench, I'm just guessing you're putting in perforated pipe, surrounding it with stone.
Yep.
If any filter fabric around the.
Yep.
Filter fabric, okay.
Yep.
Then backfilling, and then where's the outfall going to be?
Right in the driveway. I think I showed you guys too. Right in the driveway, it comes right daylight. So hopefully it'll percolate, I think,
And are you going to reinforce that outfall with anything?
Yeah, whatever you guys want. Whatever you guys think we can do. So.
Okay. I still have some questions. I feel like and I'd like to hear from other commissioners too, but I think we need a bit more information. This is, we just need more information. The trees, I think we need an actual like written list of the trees with their circumference and their species. So all 22 of them, because I know you showed them to us, but even just looking, I don't know what circumference they are. And our regulations are very much based on the circumference of the trees that are being taken out. So a list of the trees, and then I think we need a map that shows the wetland lines a little bit more. I'm assuming that Ward gave you like a map.
So the scientific engineer came out. Those are the wetlands lines, right?
Yep.
So if you guys want to come out and do it, you guys might as well do it, because last time I did it, you guys told me where it was. So, and if you guys want to measure trees, that's fine. I don't know. So I have to do everything, and then I tell you what to do, and then you tell me what to do. I just don't understand, I don't. It's kind of a big deal over there. Every time the wind blows, I feel uncomfortable personally. I do.
Yeah, well, it's not our job to put your application together. And I think
I did put the application together.
Right, but there's some info missing that, at least for me, I don't know how the other commissioners feel. And so Jan, you came on the site visit. I don't think Bob, were you there? Yeah, you were there. Yep, sorry, you were there.
I think
So how do
both
you
of them,
guys
I
feel?
think both of them were there. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were.
I think that's a reasonable request for a list of trees, the exact number, how big they are at breast height, you just measure it around, what species it is, or your best closest guess, and put them on the map around the house where, the wetlands are in the back and you've got some runoff there in the front. So make it clear where those trees land.
Yeah, I like to second what Janice said. And Jake, definitely don't want to give you a hard time on this. I understand, I sit out there with you. I understand how scary those trees are when they may come down. But what works best is if we have everything on a plan and agree to it, then that really is literally the map for us to move ahead. So measure the trees and then give us your best drawing of the, I think you had said to me that you want to try and get the water to flow around the house. Whatever detail you can put together related to that would be the best way for the commission to take a look at it. Remember it, we all sign off on it, and it becomes part of the record.
Yeah. I can bring up the map that you did send and I can
Yeah.
just point out. Do you want me to do that and point out a couple of
That'd
things?
be good because I'm kind of honestly, I'm kind of confused.
Yeah, let me show
I am.
if I can find it. Okay, can you guys see it?
We
Can you see the screen? Okay. So Jake did put these red numbers are the trees, right, Jake?
Yeah. So I got to measure everything and then we're going to do another 2 weeks and do everything again or what?
Well, so here's the backyard, and this is the old plan that shows the restoration of the backyard.
Which is good, right? Because you know where the wetlands are.
Yeah, so this rock wall is really
Yep.
this whole area is a wetland. And then you have 15 feet to the house. And these red numbers are the trees, and we've got some that go around to the front of the house.
You guys also seen them though, right?
Yeah,
Seen the
we've seen them. And
So
just
did
one
you guys
point
look
that
at the tree? Is there a couple of trees that's okay to come down now or no?
I think we need to just figure it all out first before any trees come down. Just so one thing that would be good to just draw in even by hand if you've got the old plan is I see a wetland line right here that shows that stream that goes in the front yard. And obviously this line probably continued, but then this table got put over it. And like tree number 6, like I can't tell if that is inside the wetland or outside the
But we
wetland.
also saw it in person, right? So is there any
I-
trees that can come down that are kind of okay to come down now or no? We all saw it in person, right? Or no?
Right, but so part of our regulations has to do with, knowing the diameter of a tree and then talking about, replacing it.
I'll replace whatever you want. If it's 30 inches long, I'll replace whatever you want. I will.
Anyway,
For
what I
safe-
think,
for
you have
safety.
this, you have this plan, it's very close to being done. I would like it if this wetland line just got drawn in to where the rest of it is, because I can't see it. And then the
Yeah.
other thing is take the same thing with a pen or a pencil, just draw in where the trench is gonna be.
We already
then-
did that. There's another, this is the old plan. I sent you an updated one. So you got the old plan.
Uh-oh, that's not good. Let me see if I can find the old one.
You know, the big thing is I'm just trying to make it safe for my family is all. That's all I'm trying to do. So if there's a couple of trees that are like I can actually take down, because 3 of you guys saw it, if you guys don't mind. I just want to take a couple trees down that are kind of bad, and I'll be okay. And then we can go from there, you know, but it's up to you guys, obviously. So I don't know.
I'm looking for the other one, I don't know, maybe I didn't download it.
Chat. Craig from my office shared it with you too. Are you on your email now? Because you can send it right now.
No, I'm opening up what I think is the newest one. Oh, okay, here.
Because I thought I did pretty much what you guys want me to do, and then we could go back again. Which is fine. If we're gonna not cut down trees, that's fine. But I don't know. It's been going on for a while. Is all.
Boop, 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 boop.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, so numbers 1 through 23 are on the map. And then, all right, so the red line is the trench.
Yes.
Where the piping's going, red line excavation, 4 feet.
And I think we talked about that too. You said that was a good spot.
Jake, do the those red markers of the pipes, do they just dead end or
The green is the pipe.
right?
the-
So
So the pipe goes right on the existing foundation. I have
yeah,
a lot of water in my basement, so
I
we
understood.
have to get water. My basement's pretty bad, so the green line is a perforated pipe that goes through the driveway, which we did talk about, and the red line is the excavation line, approximately 4 feet. And you guys gave me 15 feet before, so we got plenty of room, I think. But you know, I don't know.
So if you would,
Yep,
where those pipes end at the bottom of the screen, parallel to the house,
the green line. Yeah, green line is the area where pipe is going.
right? And where they end, how does that water flow out? Are they open ends? Is it
It's right on the driveway.
okay? So the water will exit out onto a paved or stone driveway.
Yes,
Okay.
What about the right side? Is it coming out of both sides?
one side.
Oh,
So the
okay,
perforated pipe should pick it all up and take it to the left side.
okay. And are you gonna use erosion control? You know, basically between where the exit of the side of the trench and the wetland area? Yep. Did you say yes or no?
We can, yes, but is there wetlands around the house that close? If I can, definitely. So, like on the left and right side, we can do that. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, just, you know, these are new wetlands that,
Yep.
so you'd want to do that. You've got you'll be piling up dirt, which say we have one
No.
of our huge rainstorms.
Yeah, I think you're right. We can do that. Yes.
Okay, and then I had mentioned, so at this outfall, it's going onto a driveway.
Yeah.
But so for kind of like hardening, right, where the water's coming out there, are you thinking
Yeah.
some gravel? So like a riprappy, something a little bit bigger to just to slow the water down?
We could do like 3/4 inch, 1 inch stone just to keep it in there. Is that what you're thinking? We could do
Sounds
that.
good.
Yes.
Yep. Otherwise, it might be so powerful that it, you know,
I know. You never
starts
know.
to could erode your part of your driveway.
No. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. Um. So I feel like all of these are all good ideas, and I feel like that it sounds like you're on board to do them. I just feel like they do need to be actually on a map that we approve. So like, you know, the erosion control is on here, and then
Well, you guys approved this map before, no?
well, we approved this map when we were doing the restoration project.
Yeah.
But that's a different project.
But we also been on site, and 4 feet around the house is pretty much what it's going to be. So you guys seen the house, that's what it's going to be. So I don't know. We all seen the house, no? 4 feet around the house. We're going to put some pipe out, and then I want to cut some tree. If you guys, did you guys decide on any trees that's allowed to be cut down or no? Did you guys talk about it?
Jake, are there a couple of trees that you want to identify that are an emergency?
13, 2, 3. You got that one? 23, 19, 18, 17. Can you scroll down?
Okay,
You guys
but
are
your
laughing, but
numbers
I
getting
know.
your numbers getting
personally,
pretty
I know
high
because I
there.
live
I mean,
A lot of
if you've
trees.
got something that you see is gonna, you know, like imminent collapse
That's-
on the roof or something,
That's
that's
what I'm
what I'm
telling you
talking
right
about,
now. That's
not
what I'm telling you. You know,
trees that just make you nervous.
yes, exactly what I told you. I know what they are. So you want me to say it again?
No,
Okay.
I think when you're asking for a half a dozen trees, you're already well into the cutting.
To be honest with you, it's an old house. It's been unoccupied for how many years? And Beth, that's probably why it's a wetland now, because back in the day they built it and then all the water built up, right? And now, you know, I don't know. It's just not. It's a safety thing. It is.
I want to look at the tree part of our regulations.
Beth, this is Rob Kibler. I have a question for the applicant on an engineering issue. One of the,
We're not really taking public comment at the moment, actually. We will in a bit.
okay. We are 6 minutes overdue to start our 7:30 session.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Jake, quick question. Will the trees be stumped or left in place?
We can stump them, leave them in place. Be honest, whatever you guys want is fine. You know, it's up to you guys. I don't mind doing whatever you guys want. I don't. We can stump them, leave them in place. Probably leave them in place would be better, right? The stumps.
That would be my preference.
That's fine. It's fine.
I think we're also gonna need erosion control in the front yard. You know, I'm looking at like 7, 8, 9, 10. And we can't see where the wetland line is.
I mean, 7, 8, 9, 10 can stay. I'm not too worried about those. It's more 3. I think 3, right? 2, 23, 18, 17, 13, 17. Go down.
Mitch, it isn't really a question of whether you can remove trees. It's a question of whether you have a plan in place, how they're gonna come down, you know, what you're gonna do about replacing them. If you have something that really is
On the
bad,
plan, I did speak about replacing the trees.
yeah, but we need a whole list because the size of the tree influences what you have to replace it with.
So what do you guys want?
It would be good to have a
What we
table.
want, I think what we want is a list that lists the trees and possibly,
Is
you know,
this, I don't understand, is there a reason you guys can't tell me what you guys want and I'll do it? Is that a big deal?
it is because basically what we want is based on the location of the trees in relevance to the wetlands, but also the size of the trees and the species of the trees. And we don't quite have all that info. I know we did a site visit, but for us to remember 23 trees and where they're located and how big they are and what species they are is
Yeah.
is a little hard for us. So
Now I'm just kind of confused then.
it's
And-
just if you provide that list, then at our next meeting, we'll be able to come up with a restoration plan, like a replanting plan for you.
Okay,
And
so are we allowed to do the drainage then?
I mean, if you'd be splitting your application in half and it would make it very awkward, actually. I mean, in a way that's really then becomes two applications.
Well,
And that-
obviously I have to submit a new application anyway, right? So let's make it about the drainage then. Can I do the drainage? Because you're
Um,
telling me I have to submit another application anyway, so might as well do the drainage, right? And we were talking about the permit. You didn't tell me anything about the the tree size, nothing, because I would have done it. Species, I didn't
well,
know
I
that.
mean,
I
in
didn't
a
know
way, okay, well, I would have, it's the kind of thing that you think possibly an applicant is going to provide in their application.
I don't think that's accurate.
Okay. Well, do other people have questions about the drainage, about the pipe, and the outfall and stuff like that? I mean, my only concern with that would be to put in erosion control, and we don't necessarily have to have that on
And
a map.
I'm fine with putting erosion control. That's
Yeah.
fine.
And we can condition it that you put erosion control in.
Yeah.
Anyway, do other commissioners have questions about the drainage?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Jake, I was wondering if you could tell us where your septic system is.
It's so you see that dotted line in the front
Yes.
of the house? So
Uh-huh.
it's pretty much, it's an old system, so it's probably, I'd say 15, 20 feet right there in front of the dotted line.
Okay. And if I recall correctly, you said that the water is going to drain all out of one pipe, and that's the pipe that's on the left of this map, correct? Or
Yeah.
plan? Okay. So you won't be discharging onto the septic system from your
No.
perimeter drain.
Yeah, so that perforated line, so probably at least 20, 24 feet right there.
Okay. And you're not discharging on that. That's fine. Thank you.
No.
All right. If there aren't any more questions or comments from the commission at this point, we can still discuss, but Miriam's got her hand up, so we're going to take some public comment. Miriam?
Question that I have for the applicant is, since you're moving water away from the foundation and it is a wet area, in the winter months, aren't you going to have a perpetual icing problem on your driveway?
Oh, Jake might have froze. Oh, there he is.
Be honest with you, I don't even know what that means.
Well, you're dumping water, you're moving water from around.
Who are you? What's your name? Do you live
Rob.
next to me?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm at the other end of Pratt Corner Road, but
Yeah.
I'm an engineer.
Yeah.
So my concern with this is a practical one, has nothing to do with regulations. But if you're transporting water from around your house to the top of your driveway, won't you have an icing problem in winter with water coming out of that pipe and going down your driveway?
That's winter, right? I don't know.
Well, before I invested thousands of dollars in doing that, I'd sure consider that. Thank
All right. I might stop sharing my screen. Do people still want to look at the image at all? I'm gonna stop. So I can see if there's any other public comment or any other commissioner comment. Anybody have comments, public or commissioners? No. So it sounds like what we're doing here is possibly like, issuing a determination of applicability just in regard to the perimeter drain that he's putting in. So then maybe what can happen, Jake, is that we talk a bit more, you come back with sort of an emergency cert request, or you just get in touch with me about an emergency cert request for some of the trees, the ones that are true emergency, because that could happen much more quickly. Or you submit an application again with a little more detail about the trees themselves with the species and the diameter. The thing is, to me, if you don't go with that tonight, you don't go with the trees, if we don't basically just continue this and not make any decisions at all, if you're gonna come back, you may really have to go through a whole application process again for just the trees. So it may be better for you if we just continue this RDA tonight, and it's got both things involved. It's got the drainage, it's got the trees. We continue it 2 weeks from now, and 2 weeks from now, you come back to our next meeting with that info on the trees, and then we can approve the request as you had submitted it with both things involved. Because if we just go with the drainage tonight and kind of close out this meeting on your application, you really would have to either apply again for a whole bunch of trees and give us the info, or just come back for an emergency request for a few of the trees. So you'll have to decide which way you want to go with that.
I think I'd like to get something done. Personally, that's how I am. I'd like to get something done. If we could decide on the drainage, that's fine. And then I don't mind applying again. I don't mind.
All right, or doing the emergency thing might be the best for a few of the trees, it sounds like. All right then. Commissioners, any more discussion needed before we close the meeting?
Yeah.
No, I apologize. I would like to do the drainage, and then I'll
Yes.
reapply for the trees.
Yeah, no, we're just kind of closing the public meeting, and then we'll.
I apologize.
Yeah, that's okay. We vote to kind of close it, and then we talk about conditions and things, and then vote again to actually issue the determination. So right now, we're just kind of voting to close discussion. Bob?
Yeah, I apologize, Jake. Just one more question. Related to the outfall and that is discharging on your driveway. How far is that, would you say, to the wetlands on the other side, the so-called downhill side of the house?
I'd say like 30, 40 feet, but that's every house on Pratt Corner. That's every house.
Okay. Great, thank you. That's
Thank
it
you.
for me.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think where that water's gonna come out isn't necessarily like right where you park either. It's kind of above where you park your cars.
Yeah, it's on that left side of the driveway, pretty much.
Yeah. All right, so I need a motion to close the public meeting, public discussion on 678 Pratt Corner Road
So
drainage.
motion.
Second? Anybody? Oh, Bob, you're muted.
I'm sorry, if you're looking for a second, I will second it.
Okay. Then we need to vote. Con,
Aye.
Rowan,
Aye.
Douglas,
Aye.
Wilson, aye. All right, so now we just need to kind of talk about conditions that we can include. I don't have the document prepared because I didn't know we were gonna actually do it tonight, but what I see as conditions are erosion control. Basically all along the north or the backyard side, and then coming down on the west side too would be, in fact, I think it's gonna have to wrap the whole thing. I have to look at the wetland line, but it might just wrap around the whole house where the trenching is gonna go. And then I think I will maybe a condition about hardening right at the outfall. And backfilling. I'm assuming this is mostly trenching. It's done in a day, so that may be a bit of a condition too, is that you trench and backfill within a day. That's all I can think of. And reseeding. Any other ideas?
Sounds good.
Sounds about right. It does. Sounds about right.
Oh,
Do
okay.
you, Beth, do you require notification of the commencement of work?
Yeah, so that's yeah, that's a standard condition of inspection of erosion control. And notification of start of work, yeah.
Thank you.
So would that happen in a day?
Yeah, I mean, you guys would probably be, I'm guessing you install erosion control almost the same day that you're gonna trench, do it all in one day.
Yeah.
And so
And I
once
can
that,
send pictures, or if you guys want to come on site, you guys come on site whenever you want, anytime.
so yeah, there would be a condition that you would let us know what day the erosion control is gonna be up and needs to be inspected prior to starting the digging. So if you're doing it in one day, just have us come in the morning and check it out before you start digging.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay, and erosion control, it's like a wattle with stakes, or a sock, some kind of a sock with the stakes in it, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. All right, so if there's no other thoughts on the permit itself, I need a motion to issue a determination of applicability for 678 Pratt Corner Road for drainage.
So motioned.
All right. Second?
I will second.
Great. Douglas,
Aye.
Rowan,
Aye.
Khan,
Aye.
and Wilson. All right, Jake, we'll get you that permit. What's today, Thursday, by like next week, next Tuesday maybe ish.
I appreciate you guys. I appreciate your time too. Thank you.
All right, and reach out to us about the trees again. Like
I
I
will.
said, an
So
emergency.
circumference and species, to the best of my knowledge, right?
Yes, that's what we're looking
Okay,
for.
sounds good. No, I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good night. Okay. All right, next we have an administrative approval request for 74 Pratt Corner Road. Miriam?
Hi there. Okay, thank you. So, our property has previously been delineated, and you should have on file the engineered site plan with all the elevations and the wetland boundaries, and that delineation is still current. It's less than 3 years old. We're doing two small projects. One is in the front of the house, and we're just removing a small, like 3.5 by 6 foot, or 5.5, 3.5 by 5.5 wooden deck. And then we're going to dig 2 post holes and put in new pier supports and put in a slightly larger porch, 6 feet by 6.5 feet. That porch is damaged and it's no longer safe, so we have to remove it. And we will use an erosion control, but all the work will be within a previously landscaped stone patio. We're not removing any vegetation. We'll put in an erosion sock, and the limit of work is, I don't know, about 75 feet from the BBW. But there's quite a bit of vegetation and landscaping between our limit of work and the BBW. And we're not going to be having any spoils piles. We're just going to, the excavated soil will just be redistributed under the porch. and the debris will be trucked off site, disposed of. And then the rear of the house, I mean, technically, the building inspector didn't even think we needed Concom approval, but we're asking anyway. We're moving a deck and closing off a sliding patio doors and putting in regular windows. So we'll be cutting off the deck and removing the deck, and the piers that are in place, there's 3 of them, are just gonna stay in the ground. We're not digging them out. And then we're just gonna landscape that area. And it's in the back of the house. It's uphill of the wetlands, but any water would have to get through our foundation of our house before it could get to the wetland. So I don't think we need any erosion controls. I can't imagine how any water would get downhill from that site, and we're not really digging.
Okay.
Miriam, I'm sorry, is it okay to ask a question, Beth?
Oh, yeah.
The front of the house, what would you say is is that distance to the wetland?
About
That's
70, I think the limit of work is gonna be about 75 feet.
75 feet, okay.
Um,
And the one on the other side?
Well, again, we're not digging, we're not doing any ground
Yeah.
disturbance, but it's like 97.
Yeah, okay, all right, yeah. It seems rather de minimis project in general, household front and back door type projects.
Yeah, it's the deck itself is, 45 square feet, 49 square feet or something like that, but it's only 2 piers. So we'll dig 2 post holes.
All right. Well,
front.
yeah, it sounds very, not very impactful. And it sounds good. And you've got your erosion control, your plan for erosion control. When do you think you're gonna do the work?
As soon as you sign off on the building permit, we want to start the demolition, so we're all ready to go.
Okay, great. Any other questions from the commission? No? Any questions from the public? Nope. So this is the first AAR or small permit project that we've issued. So we don't have a form for the like determination but what I thought I would do is actually use the state determination of applicability form, but just, mark it up with by hand, which Mark Stinson has told me before. Anything you need to do to change those forms so that they fit what your commission is doing is completely fine. So, we just haven't created the form yet, for the determination. So that's just my idea to use that, but we will, yeah. I mean, I can't really think of any additional conditions for this. It sounds like you've got everything covered. I mean, just usual condition as we with the other project, once the erosion control is up, have us come and do an inspection of it.
Well,
before-
did you do an inspection, or could I just send you photographs?
I think with this one, you could just send photographs. I think that's fine, but I will. Uh-oh. Apparently there's something in my yard. Just a moment.
No, we'll use an erosion
All right.
control.
Hey, Eve?
What?
Sorry.
Oh. Okay. So I don't think there's any other questions from the commission, and that was my plan, to use the state form for the permit. So I need a motion to approve and issue the administrative approval permit for 74 Park Corner Road.
So moved.
All right. Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Merlin,
Aye.
Douglas,
Aye.
Khan,
Aye.
and Wilson. All right. Hey, thank you, Miriam. I will try and get that to you early next week.
Can you sign off on the Franklin County building inspection permit so they can generate the permit?
Yes, I can do that. as of tonight, if I have
That would be-
time. Because we've issued the
Work on
permit, so I can go in and do that.
You can work on it this weekend.
Okay, well, good luck. All right, thank you. Okay, that's our 7:30. All right. Next on the agenda is 31 Lakeview Road. This is what we started talking about at our last meeting. I see Kathy is here. And Kathy, is your lawyer coming?
He was planning on it. I don't see him on this list, but we spoke with him earlier today and he was planning on it.
Okay. Do you want to wait for him or?
Well, if the commission wants to get into a discussion of our request, I guess that's okay for now.
Okay. So we kind of left it off last week. We started going through some of the conditions that were being questioned by the Salvadors and their lawyer. Since that time, we did a site visit. Jan and I did a site visit to see the property. And I also I had a long conversation with Donna McNichol about the situation. I can talk about that discussion. Maybe Jan can talk about the site visit, but my discussion with Donna, basically, agree that perpetual conditions are really, it's not legal to be issuing certain types of perpetual conditions. And that, to move forward, we really should amend the order of conditions. Doing a waiver doesn't really make sense either. So we should go the route of amending. Some of the conditions in that list that they provided, what's in some of those conditions is not necessarily perpetual. If you get that whole category is called post-construction / perpetual. And if we got rid of that and just had that section called post-construction, there are conditions in there of work that, is not really perpetual and is things that was really mitigation for the project that was riverfront redevelopment is what that work really was. And under riverfront redevelopment, where there's impact, commissions can certainly ask for mitigation and ask for general improvement of the riverfront area. And that's what some of these things were. To me, things like putting in the no disturb line. So the rock wall that went in and the posts that went in, and Jan and I saw those and they look great and they're in the right location. And they've now really become part of the landscaping and they look great. But so putting those in was part of mitigation and then really making that no disturb a no disturb. And I think, I think we'd want to hear from Kathy and her lawyer that's true, that area, it now has that permanent line, and that as far as the Salvadors are concerned, that really is no touch. They have no plans to do anything in that area. So those are the kinds of things that I feel like were mitigation.
Excuse me, Beth. Sorry, I just got a call from Attorney Martin. He's not able to get into the meeting, he said.
Oh. Oh boy. I think Becky made me host. I hope she made me host because I'm not seeing anybody requesting to get into the meeting. That's not good. But I think I've seen people come and go. So that's kind of odd that he can't get in.
Yeah, I told him I'd let you know, and he's probably trying again as we speak.
Okay. Now, I've definitely seen some people come into the meeting, and I didn't have to let them in. So I think he should be able, as long as he's got the right link from the agenda.
Okay, I'll
Anyway.
check with him to make sure.
Okay, sorry. Those are some of the things that Don and I were talking about. You know, was it truly the idea of the perpetual, well, you can't, these conditions are 30 years, so the word perpetual doesn't really work. You know, unless it's a deed restriction, which again, there was this kind of attempt to do a deed restriction with this order of conditions, and I don't think it really made much sense. But I don't know, Jan, you want to talk about the site visit? I have to let my dog in.
We did go there the other afternoon. Like Beth said, the no disturb zone was clearly marked and it had clearly not been disturbed. You know, stuff is along the edge of the stream the way it will go in the woods. It comes all the way around the side of the house where there is a wetland, so that whole zone winds up being no disturb. One of the other key things was the drains from the house, from the roof, go into dry wells. They were in place and seemed to be working effectively. They had a list of plantings they had to do, and it looks like they've done it and that most of the stuff has taken. So that was good. Our discussions seem to bear out the fact that they understand what's expected. And yeah, the place looks great. So I think that they have met the intent of the order of conditions.
Beth, as I recall, one of the conditions related in the order condition was an inspection of the site. Was this site visit that you and Jan did that inspection?
No, I feel like this was more, so since the order of conditions is probably going to be amended, like this site visit was really part of this whole discussion about deciding what to do about the perpetuity question. They'll still have to do a final inspection to get their certificate of compliance, if that's what you're talking about. So I think if
Right.
we amend the order, now there's a change in the order that, you know, when you do your inspection for certificate of compliance, you take that final order and you make sure that they did everything in it, and we're actually changing it. So I still feel like they'll need to do another inspection for their certificate of compliance. Scott?
Yeah, thank you. I'm wondering, just to follow up on what you said with your conversation with our attorney, Donna McNichols, and it seems that for the order of conditions, it covered a whole wide range of things. Some of them were more immediate follow-up, which were done kind of over and done with at the time. Some of which are, as you said, they're like long-term offsets for the impacts, and you know what you talked about with the markers and the no touch area that are being adhered to. And I'm wondering, are those offsets, those conditions being perpetual, is that problematic, or is it the shorter term follow-up things that kind of get lumped in there that might have been confusing? I was trying to understand the difference there, if there is a distinction between the two.
So are you asking sort of which of the perpetuity questions are the real ones that are an issue for the applicant?
Yeah, or and with legal counsel, are they, because some of these seem like they're offset for perpetual impacts that we permitted, and some of them are not that. They were follow-up items that needed to be done in the short term. And so I'm asking for, like you mentioned, the markers and the no touch zone, are those those were perpetual conditions, I thought, in the permit. Are those the conditions that you're saying, can those remain, or are you saying that those are conditions that we have been found that we can't ask for offsets in that way perpetually, even though the impacts might be perpetual? That's what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, no, I know. I see what you're saying. I think one thing that it seems to me that the applicant is just asking for is almost removing the word perpetual from a few spots. But that's part of what Donna agreed, is that there were things that were agreed upon when there was a public hearing regarding this that are mitigation, really. And some of them in the end are going to be perpetual. The existing of that rock wall, and the fact that we had them mark the no disturb zone, and that area is going to be no disturb is really something that we asked for as mitigation for and is something that was really agreed upon. I can bring up the list again and we can talk about things. I mean, in the end, I think Donna was agreeing that we can't. It's a taking to be saying that certain land has. I think what she really threw out a few times was that our strength and our power comes from what's in the Wetlands Protection Act and what's in our bylaw. So the idea that this entire property is in riverfront, is in almost the 100-foot riverfront, and is also within the 100-foot buffer zone, gives us a whole lot of power to say, first of all, to anybody who's ever going to live there, they're going to have to come to the Conservation Commission to do most things in a way, because they're within that 100-foot zone, So that's really where our power is, but we can't necessarily go beyond that kind of thing. You can ask for mitigation if it's agreed upon, that's one thing, but
I think that's where I was trying to understand, Beth, is for mitigation for presumably a perpetual impact, like we're not going back to, like, let's revisit the house placement or the work that was done periodically every 10, 15, 20 years. We're saying that's been done. There was talk about that no disturb area, an agreement on the no disturb area. And that was put in as an order of conditions to remain a no disturb area perpetually. And that's what I'm trying to understand is, did our attorney say it's problematic to issue perpetual mitigation for perpetual impact? I understand that not everything in that list really lend themselves to a perpetual thing, and I think some of that was wording in the permit, but to me that's the crux of it. And I'm just trying to understand, because I think it's pretty common that mitigation and restrictions, we have lots of examples of that here, and I hear what you're saying. This wasn't recorded as a conservation restriction that way, and maybe it ought to have been at the time as mitigation for it. I think part of the problem, as I recall, is that we entered into this after the things had already kind of begun in progress. And so I don't recall exactly why we didn't pursue a conservation restriction, but I'm trying to understand if what our attorney and legal counsel is saying is that if we can't request perpetual orders and conditions to offset an impact, that would be I guess that would change my thinking when we're voting on some of these things where there's a perpetual impact and we're trying to offset it that way, and that we would need to follow up with some sort of conservation restriction, deed restriction that way.
That's what I understood from Donna, is that the conditions, you know, in an order of conditions, which is the permit for a project, the longest those conditions can be good for is the 30 years that we've heard about. And that what is perpetual are more deed restrictions. And I'm assuming conservation type restrictions too. Not to say that you can't still say to somebody, please, you know, one of our mitigation is for you to mark the no disturb line, you know, or mark the wetland line on your property. And if that's an agreement that that person makes as mitigation for something, then they put it up. Is it, can we say that it's going to be there perpetually? No. You know, like there's no, this whole idea of having some kind of a perpetual agreement that doesn't necessarily exist unless you have a formal deed restriction created by lawyers and vote and all the, you know, go through that whole process. That's how I understood our conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah. And sorry that she couldn't make it tonight. She is on vacation. She left on vacation, but she did say if this whole discussion doesn't really come full circle, she's very interested and would certainly come to our next meeting. And is open for any questions that we have too about any of these things.
Hi, Beth.
Hi.
It's Jim.
Yep. You made it into the meeting.
Yeah, I was locked out. I don't.
I wasn't letting people in, so I'm not quite sure what was going on. But
I made it. Thank you. I obviously Donna speaks for you, and she's your lawyer. I did have some communications with her, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that the property itself and the existing Wetlands Protection Act isn't existent, and that's your map, that's your guideline, and that could be changed at any, you know, statutory, regulatory, and that's another reason why you don't have in perpetuity to then get in a fight that we've changed this benchmark or done something like, you know, and then you're stuck with a mark on your title. So conditions are within the law that are reasonable are okay. In perpetuity, you know, is not. So I think, and then agreements, but they have to be agreements. An agreement by legal definition, two sides come together and agree. Now you have, and I think you had a site visit yesterday, and I think you've seen that the Salvadors are doing a nice job and compliant, and we want their place to be nice and be, you know, they can hold it up to be that they respect the land. So that's, I think, the difference maybe from the three categories, and that's why we're asking the in perpetuity language be removed. Mm-hmm. Is that a fair fair summary of what you understood Donna told you? Because that's what
that is, and you know, for me the big concern, and I think, you know, Scott's kind of thinking in the same realm, is for any property, if it's, to me, you know, the Sawmill River is such an important river, and so having that no disturb line is important and to me, and I feel like to the commission. And so the big question is, it sounds like the Salvadors certainly love having no disturb there. It sounds like to me, they like having the natural vegetation. They're happy with it. But when they go to sell their property, you know, however many years that'll be, 50 years, or I think the daughter's taking the house. So whenever it is going to be like, and any property, when that happens, it's that communication to the next owner about that no disturb zone. I've seen it happen in Amherst where I worked, where you go through the whole process as a Concom to have somebody mark a no disturb zone, and then the people sell the property 3 years later, and all of a sudden the commission looks and somebody's mowed like right over all the no disturb or all the wetland markers, and they're like, I don't know what those blue things were. I just mowed them down. So there's that question of going into the future, and so to me, deed restrictions, I guess, are the way. Just Scott, so for just thinking of projects into the future, if it's important enough, going that route of doing the full kind of deed restriction of an area to make sure that the next owners know that it's no disturb is an option.
That's what it is, an option, because
Yeah.
it has to be agreed to.
Right. There's that. Right. If it gets agreed to, if it's needed. Okay, so the amended order is the way I think we need to go with this. And there's the usual way of doing that, which is we need to have an actual public hearing. There's administrative approval, but in this case, I think there may be sort of enough public who might want to ask questions about it, that I feel like we do need to do that, which means that we would need to have a public hearing probably at our next meeting, which is 2 weeks from now. And it needs, the abutter notification and the legal ad. And that is on the applicant. And then and actually tonight, first, the Concom needs to vote. So when anybody comes forward to amend an order of conditions, we vote whether or not we feel like a whole new notice of intent was needed. This is usually if there's additional work being proposed, or if we feel like an amendment will suffice. So we need to vote on that tonight. And then I'm just kind of spelling out how it would work. If we do go with the amended, then next meeting would be the public hearing. How do people feel about that?
You're talking to to members, right? Because we're in favor of an amendment.
Yeah. I'm just making you guys aware that the public hearing has to happen, which involves abutter notification and a legal ad and all that before the meeting. So, but yeah, commissioners.
No, I'm supportive of that, Beth. I think that makes sense. A good path forward.
Okay.
I'd like to say that, I did a deep dive into the past minutes of this particular hearing, and it seemed like there was an agreement, an unappealed decision on this particular notice of intent. So that I think there is stuff that needs to be discussed, and I do think that the amendment an amendment hearing, public hearing, is a proper format to do that. So I would support reviewing a submitted amendment when it comes in.
Okay. All right, great. So let's, I need a motion then we need an motion that the commission is not requiring an additional notice of intent, and we are requesting that we're going with an amended order of conditions. Never really know how to say that one. It's very confusing. I need a motion.
So we are moving that the proponent must file for an amendment. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I so move.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, Con,
Aye.
Douglas,
Aye.
Rowan,
Aye.
and Wilson. Tom, you have your hand up?
Thank you. I don't know the answer to my question, and it's just a question. But as far as I'm aware, Donna McNichol purchased a property from the Salvadors in 2022. And as far as I'm aware, the town council, who she is as a result, recused herself from consultation about properties of the Salvadors, including this one. And my question is whether there is an existing conflict of interest as a result of that business relationship between Donna McNichol and the Salvadors, and the ramifications of that potential conflict of interest, what they would be if it is indeed one. And I don't know how to find guidance about whether that's cause for a true conflict or the perception of a conflict. Please.
I mean, I can definitely look into that a little bit. I think in a way what we were asking her had more to do with just the question of perpetuity, and was it legal? It wasn't necessarily this particular property. Still, you're right, maybe she should not have been even providing any advice at all, but it really was more. I also reached out to the DEP, to Mark Stinson, about the same question, because it really affects all of our decisions for all properties. What are we legal to do as a commission in terms of
That's why I think it's so important to base the questioning on an application where there aren't any conflicts of interest, because it does have ramifications beyond this application. So the question would not have come to our town council were it not for this particular application, is how I understand it. I might be misunderstanding it. But it just raises a concern for me about the participation of our town council and questions that arise from people that she's done business with. And I don't know whether you can give me an answer, but I just wanted to raise it as a question.
Yeah, thank you.
Please.
For raising it as a question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I might add that normally it's the council's initial determination to inform a board whether or not, in their judgment, they have a conflict once the subject matter is raised. So
yeah, I think she did state that back in 2022, I believe, when the property was purchased and the permit came into, or the first application was made. But I can ask her if that's what she said then, but as far as I'm aware, that's what she said then. And I didn't know that anything would change, but I don't know.
Could I make a comment?
Yeah, if Tom, you're done, then Miriam has.
Thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to raise the question and
Yeah, it's just a point of clarification.
Thank you.
So I had a conversation with Donna McNichol when this project was before the commission. And at the time, she told me she could not advise us because she was just in the process of negotiating a purchase of a property with the Salvadors. And I did consult with Mark Stinson at Mass DP at the time. So just some info, background. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what Mark said to you, but he basically said to me that he didn't know. Because with Mark, he doesn't even know the project. I didn't even talk to him, and I didn't really with Donna as much either talk about the specifics of this site or this project. It was more the question of, can our commission issue conditions in perpetuity. Because again, I feel like I've seen it before with other towns, and I really wanted to know the legal answer to that question. And Mark basically said he didn't know, which is not helpful to me at all. And then Donna provided a bit more sort of legal backing behind it, which all to me, from also just what I've Googled in terms of the laws out there, that idea that we can't do that does seem to be the answer. So there you go.
That just another piece is there is another property that I'm aware of, there might be more, where there's a similar kind of deed mechanism, and that is a property on Sand Hill Road, and I don't remember the address. But I remember in 2021, the property was being sold and the commission had to go out and refresh and then re-inspect the markers and all of that for that sale to go through.
Is there an actual deed restriction, or?
It's a deed restriction with permanent markers that were metal pins, which were, as I recall, really hard to find, and it ended up requiring a metal detector to find them. We spent like 2 hours tromping around the woods and couldn't find them. They finally were figured out.
Well, may I inquire, as I said before, I think it's protocol is to ask your counsel if they feel they need to recuse themselves first. If you're going to do that, you can't do it till Donna gets back. And then we need to know if she's going to continue to advise or step aside. So for terms of submissions and scheduling, it would be helpful to know that.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure how long her vacation is. She was going out of the country, so I want to say at least a week and a half or so. But okay, well, at this point, we've voted to have it done under an amended order of conditions. And I think you're right that maybe we wait to find out what's going on with Donna. So
she's not returning until September the 9th.
September 9th? Okay, let me look at my calendar.
But you took a motion. Has it been voted?
We voted.
Thank you.
All right, she comes back September 9th, and our next meeting is September 12th. So anyway, I think, we don't need to decide tonight when the hearing is going to be, because, it's not like we're continuing a hearing that's already open. This is going to be a new hearing. So we'll just keep in touch about that and find out what's going on with Donna. And we'll let you know. So yeah, we have a meeting on the 12th and we have a meeting on the 26th of September. So most likely it'll be one of those 2 nights, and we'll keep in touch.
And could you let us know when you would like the proposed amendments submitted?
Yes. Yep.
And give us a little lead time.
Yep. Yes, definitely. We will. Okay. Sounds
Thank you.
good. Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Hey, Beth, forgive me. I just wanted to follow up on that. Wouldn't the proponent just submit the amendment and then we hear it in due course within 21 days?
I mean, we can do it that way. It sounds like we may be waiting to hear a little bit with Don. If the applicant's all right, just holding off until we find out what's going on with Donna.
Okay, all right. I see. That was the reason. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that might be a good idea.
That's fine with us.
Okay, great. All right, well, thank you. We'll talk more.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. All right. Next on our agenda is the Subduing Knotweed Coalition. They're here to present their plans to get rid of knotweed. I sent it around to all the commissioners what you sent us. So this is Pam is here, right, to present. I think you're muted.
Mute. Oh, there we go. Okay.
There we go.
So I hope you all had a chance to read the proposal. And before I sent this proposal, we did a presentation to the
Select board, right? The select board?
the select board, thank you. It's late, I'm tired, so my brain is a little slow. Yes, we did a nice proposal to the select board talking about knotweed and the difficulty with it and how invasive it is. And I know we have a lot of invasives. There's a lot of invasives everywhere. But knotweed is pernicious and it becomes a monoculture and it takes over areas on my road. I've been watching these areas for years, and with all of the rain, I don't know if you all have noticed, things are growing like jungle now. And some of the areas, there's one area in particular, right on my neighbor's property, that has doubled in size since last year. So our concern is for the invasiveness of this product, this plant, and how difficult it is to get rid of. And we're looking around town and seeing that the plots that once were, small are now much larger, and the more they grow, the harder they are to try to manage. And I'm a pollinator person. I've been growing pollinator plants and advocating for pollinator plants for 20 some years. And my concern is that if we let this knotweed go and we don't do anything about it, that it will eventually just consume the roadways, which will eliminate all of the native plants. It already is, and I have to tell you, there's one thing, and in my search for 6 properties, and I listed 7 sites that are potentials for the first to try to get rid of because they're right on the side of the road. If you go down Locks Pond down to Lakeview, right where the road crosses and the new dam is in there from Lake Wyola, there's a property on the right-hand side the woman owns, and I saw the knotweed coming across the road and up in her yard. And on the other side, there's a beautiful property that is right on the watershed area of the water that comes down. That on the left-hand side at the end of the road there is covered, that yard, and it's their personal property. It's not on right of way. There's so much knotweed in that yard, and they have put these gigantic rocks alongside the creek. It's fast running, so I don't know whether you call it a creek or whatever you want to stream. And the knotweed is coming up in the cracks. And it creates a lot of anxiety when I see that, because if we have a flood and a lot of water goes down there, or even if we don't, little pieces of those knotweed roots are going to break off because they're right on that waterway, and they're going to go right down into Leverett. And they're going to hook on the sides of the creek, and it's going to look like the Deerfield River, which if you've ever gone down, I've gone down twice this year. The river is completely contaminated the whole way down. So that's what we don't want to see here in Shutesbury. We want to see us get rid of this knotweed, and we have the potential to do that. So I have submitted 7 potential sites. I did my best to do this with the assessor's map and try to juxtapose where they were with where I thought they were on that map, because there's not really any other way that I could see that was easy for you as the commission to know where these pieces were. I certainly am willing to drive around with you or drive beside you and show you where these patches are, because the one that to me it was the most difficult to cite was the one on Schoolhouse Road, because there aren't really houses right there, and it's right before the bus turnaround, but I couldn't figure out on that assessor's map, so I apologize for that. I did my best. So yes, we are looking to see if Steve from the Department of Roads can be allowed to spray those particular areas, to start with those areas. I looked to find areas that were not on wetlands. I looked at that assessor's map and juxtaposed that with, I put the wetland, there's an overlay that you can do with the wetlands, and I didn't see wetlands in any of these areas. Now, I know I talked to Penny Jakes and she said, well, you know, the wetlands aren't always marked on the map. So that's why you all are very important, so that we don't do anything that we shouldn't be doing. And, you know, we're hoping that we can get your approval to do this. I know that there's a lot of concern in town. There's been already on Nextdoor, there's been a petition to not have glyphosate sprayed. And there's a lot of unresearched information on there, I'll just say that, about, you know, it's good, we're going to spray, we're going to kill the pollinators with the spray, and that isn't how it works. So I don't want to get into that, because we knew that there was going to be pushback, and I understand people are concerned about a chemical. I am an organic gardener. I do not want to use chemicals. This plant is almost impossible to eradicate any other way. It's, if anybody has any good ideas, we have done months and months of research trying to figure out some other ways to do it, to smother it, to do this, to that. And if you do the research that we've done, you will see that almost no one has had success on a town level with getting rid of something. You might have luck in your own yard if you have a small patch and you can keep up with it, but for the town DPW to do that is not manageable as far as we can see. So there you have it. And if we have any questions, I'm happy to answer whatever I can.
Yeah, I have questions and just some ideas too. One question, so you're talking foliar spray, not stem treatment.
Right. We have been working we've had Brian Colleran, who is he's an ecologist, he's environmental restoration person, he's a wetland scientist, he is a advanced field botanist, and he has been talking with us about this. He's the one that actually, he gave a workshop for invasive species in Shutesbury, put on by the library a couple of years ago. And he's knotweed is his specialty. And we thought injecting stems, but he said that is, it's very labor intensive when you have a big stand, and we have some really large stands. B, the needle breaks a lot, and you have to have a large enough in diameter stalk in order to get the needle in there. The small ones, you can't get a needle in. So that's not really very effective. And all that I keep reading, I was just reading the Natural Resources Defense Council's treatment of invasive species, and injecting can be very effective for a very small site, but it's not very effective for a large site that foliar spraying actually uses less chemical and over time, because the first spray knocks it down 90%, and then you're just trying to get any little sprouts that come up until it reaches the point where you stop spraying, and any sprouts that come up you can dig up, but you can't dig up a big thing. And as for the coalition, we are putting together a group who is going to probably going to be 3 or 4 of us who monitor the areas. If we see one little area, there was on Pelham Hill, the knotweed had crossed the road, and there was like 1 or 2 little sprouts that had come up, and we dug that up ourselves and got all of it. And we will monitor that area to make sure that it doesn't come up again. But unless the area is really small, digging is not an effective thing, because the roots really travel far, like down at the bottom of up by Lake Wyola there. They're going across from that neighbor's yard, across the street that way, and then across the street the other way. And we want to treat the patch across the street, across whatever that name of that road is, Lakeview Road. So it travels under the roads. It travels many, many feet. And so it's just going to keep spreading everywhere.
Well, so that was kind of my other question is, you guys are only right of way, right? You're just working in the right of way, and then,
Well, right at the moment, that is what we felt like would be the most palatable
yeah.
to approach you all with, and let us get started on eliminating some of this. Yes, there are more patches up by me. I don't know how far the right of way is on Pelham Hill before it reaches Pelham. But that patch has gone into the woods.
Well, that's the thing, is if you treat only in the right of way, like you said, but then, 10 feet away is private property, and there it is again. But you
Not
can't.
all of, yes, you are correct, but not all of those areas have that. A lot of the way that this knotweed has been spread through our town was years ago, unknowingly, when they plowed, or they would see it and they would cut it down, and then it would lay on the ground, and then it would sprout. And so that's what you have. You have going down Prescott Road. There are just little patches that have come up because the plow went down, knocked a few pieces there, then a few 25 feet further, there's another little patch that has sprouted up. Or on Locks Pond going down, there's a ditch on the side of the road. So when a lot of water runs through that ditch, like we have 4 inches of rain, like we had earlier in the summer, and a mountain of water goes down there, those roots on the thing break off, and then they travel down the ditch and they get caught, and then they sprout again. So it's not always then goes into some people's property. There are those properties, and that there may not ever be anything to do about those people's property. And I feel bad for them if they try to sell their house, because I sure wouldn't want to buy a house that had knotweed in the yard. And yeah, and I've encountered that. I had somebody say, I have these few little patches of knotweed in my yard. Maybe you could come and look. I think I can dig it up. Well, that was on West Pelham. And when I looked at the property, I was horrified, because he had bought the house a few years ago. They had put in a new septic system. Whether they brought in contaminated fill, or whether they put the septic system in and then cut down the knotweed and tried to cover it up with lots of hay and stuff, and so it looked good when they bought it. Now completely surrounding the leach field is knotweed, and the knotweed's going to get in that leach field. That's a nightmare. Sorry, it's terrible. So yeah, we want to get started somewhere, and that's why I tried to find those isolated spots.
Okay, well, my just initial thought would be that we should do, a site visit, a little tour. I don't know how many we can get to in a day, but I think,
Absolutely.
that if commissioners are interested or whoever, I mean, I'll go and anybody else, but we should go and be able and identify ones that are jurisdictional for the commission. You know, who knows, maybe not all of them will be, but
Right,
some of
and that's why I came across the seventh one happenstance and I put it on there. I thought, well, not all of these might be viable, so.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I think that would be a start, finding out if there's wetlands nearby or if it's buffer zone, if we have any jurisdiction with any of them. And then kind of going from there. I don't know, what do commissioners think?
Yeah, I think Bob here, I think if they're in a wetland or they're within 100 feet of a wetland, I know that utilities that I work with, railways, power lines, for vegetative control involving herbicides, there needs to be a filing, a determination or a notice. So I think that's the key, is if they are within that 100 foot or 200 foot of a river, then a filing would be required.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so too. So that'd be a fun little road trip.
So I'm happy to join you, or, in my car before and show you where they are. That might be the easiest thing.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. Jan is our site visit organizer. So Jan, can you work with Pam on setting that up? Thank
I will.
you. So if there's no more comments from the commission at this point, Miriam has a comment. Miriam?
Yeah, thanks. And I think there might be other people that want to make comments. Let me just lower my hand. So appreciate the presentation from Pam, and I was at the Board of Health meeting last night, so I appreciated hearing from Mary Jo Maffei and hearing some of the presentations that have been recorded from past meetings. And I just have some comments, and there was a letter that Mary Jo Johnson and I submitted to the commission as our personal comments. And I just want to be clear that just so you understand, neither of us have not weed on our properties or in the right of ways near our properties. So this isn't necessarily affecting us individually, but we have concerns about the environmental health of our community. And I would like to just point out that speaking for myself, and I think I can say this for Mary Jo as well, that we also have been researching this topic. We're interested in science, and we've been doing a deep dive into this, not just now and not just in the last year, but for many years. I've had an interest both in invasive species control as well as native plant habitat, and also the effects of herbicides and pesticides. So, I think we all come with our own skill sets and pots of knowledge, and we should be respecting each other's knowledge base. So what I'm really want to make a comment about is really about looking to the commission to kind of spell out a process for how to go forward, because there's different boards, kind of, it's sort of like the blind man and the elephant, kind of everybody's looking at a different piece of it and how it affects the particular jurisdiction of that board. But I think that the Conservation Commission has a broad environmental charge and a jurisdictional map that overlays with this project. So I also just want to make a comment as we think about how knotweed is sprouting up on the rights of ways. Yes, it's happening because of ground disturbance from plowing. It's also happening because knotweed likes edge habitat. And so we see it along the banks of rivers and streams and ponds, but we also see it along the edges of roads because that's edge habitat, which it tends to like. We started a petition, and we haven't yet submitted it to the select board, but at last count, we were, I think, up to 125 signatures, mostly from Shutesbury residents, which I think speaks to how much the community cares about this issue, both wanting to see issues addressing invasive species, but also wanting to have some say in how it's approached and seeing the least toxic approach used. There's always going to be trade-offs between invasives control and sort of environmental health issues. And we need to find the right balance. And I'm hoping that that will be thought about. And I think it's also important to think about when we're talking about this, having a realistic recognition that this is a very pernicious weed and that eradication is probably not possible in Shutesbury. We're really talking about containment and control of spread. We're not going to remove it completely. It's going to keep sprouting up, and it's going to keep sprouting and needing successive treatments, even in areas where it has been treated. So we're talking about a project that is going to require significant resources over a number of years. Thinking about herbicide treatment, I know that there are differences of opinion about the health risks of glyphosate, but there is growing evidence that glyphosate has impacts both to the nervous system and to the gut biome, that it acts not just as an herbicide, but also as a pesticide and destroys and affects microorganisms in the soil. It's both water soluble and is susceptible to wind drift when it's particularly with foliar spraying, so that there's solid scientific evidence showing that it does disperse to non-target species and non-target areas when foliar spraying is used. When I heard about the 7 proposed sites last night, I looked through my records, and I did include in our letter the information I have about the presence of wetlands in those particular areas. And I believe at least 6 of them are in areas that fall under the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission, either riverfront area or the aura of a wetland, and in some areas possibly in a wetland, depending on where exactly the stand is. But they all appear to be within the jurisdiction of the commission. And there is, because there is intense public interest, I'm really asking the commission to think about and maybe perhaps commit to a process that allows for public review of the data and the public having input, and allowing for conditions that allow the public to be notified if there's going to be spraying or treatment in their areas of their homes. And we think a notice of intent is the most appropriate process for this, because it allows the commission to ask for reasonable options and to have an analysis about whether the option that is presented is the least adverse option possible and what else might be practicable. It also allows for possibly a 5-year permit with renewals and reporting and monitoring provisions, so that there could be reporting to the commission, perhaps some in monitoring, notification to the public. All of those things seem important and valuable to reassure the public that there is a good, safe process and that their voices have been heard. So that is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam.
Yeah, thank you. Melody? You have your hand up? Maybe not.
She might have mute on.
Sorry, this isn't my computer. This is Mary Jo. And I'm not too familiar with the way that the mouse works. Took me a minute. So I just wanted to speak as someone that's not fully familiar with the CONCOM process, or the process of approval of use of toxic substances. And just to say that for me as a member of the public, the fact that it's potentially used without informing the public is disturbing. And in all fairness, the scientific community is pretty divided on whether or not glyphosate is safe. There's a lot of pressure from the manufacturers of glyphosate on the EPA, on legislators, and from the industry particularly. And the industry stands to lose billions of dollars if it is actually eventually decided that glyphosate does cause cancer and all of these other human health problems that it appears that it does cause from the independent research. So this is actually alarming to think about the fact that potentially this is being sprayed on public property where children play, where we walk along the roads without even signage. My personal experience has always been that if my neighbors used pesticides, they would put a sign out. But I haven't even seen that courtesy from Shutesbury. It's my understanding, and I just did a visual, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that it was sprayed on the new library site. And, you know, as a member of the public, you know, there's no signage, there's nothing. And it just seems like, especially given that the research is pointing in many different directions, that there are studies that show that the research is biased. Like statistically, if you look at the studies all together, there is evidence of bias. I just think we need a little bit slower and more thoughtful and more open process. And I'm hoping that the Conservation Commission, in looking at this, will be able to do that. My thought is, if you're able to figure out how to work with knotweed in areas that you need to protect, like conservation area, wetlands, whatever, you know, why not pursue that other places too? Why why disturb, offend, cause this level of concern, which, you know, when I was a part of the conversation on Nextdoor, and I saw how upset people were. It's part of the reason why I wanted to start a petition, because I think it's really important that the public be informed. And I'm sure that the Subduing Knotweed group did a lot of kind of part searching too about their decision. It makes sense to me that this process, the same kind of conversation and reflection, has got to be done on a bigger scale in order to bring people along, and in order for the public to feel like their concerns are being taken into account, and that the town is doing their best to pursue a cautious way, a way of least harm, and a way that is transparent.
All right. Thank you. It was all very interesting. You know, I mean, I think basically our first step would be to, like we said, organize a site visit to all those locations for the commission. And we'll take a look, and we'll see if the areas we feel, you know, if we feel like there's wetlands nearby, you know, we'll move from there, but there may be a need to have the wetlands delineated and that kind of thing. But the basic first step would be to do a site visit. So yeah, if Pam, if you could work with Jan on finding a day, I'm kind of hoping we'd be able to get to all 7 of them, you know, maybe a morning on a weekend, or we'll
Okay.
just
Is the
play
best
around
thing
with
to
some-
email the best mode of communication?
Yeah,
Email.
Jan, does that work for you?
That works for me.
Okay.
My email is shutesbury.janice.rowan@gmail.com.
Okay. Got it. All right, I will email you.
Great. We have one more public comment. Miriam/Rob.
I'm the Rob part.
Hmm.
I have a few comments on this. First, there's a saying that the best time to plant trees 20 years ago. Second best time is today. And the same is true with invasive species. The best time to address them was 20 years ago.
It's
Well,
true.
now it's today. So I think we are not educated enough as a town and not prepared enough to spray. But we are educated enough to get rid of the little patches now by digging. And I know that's a lot of labor, but we had 125 signatures on that petition. And even if 1 out of 10 people is willing to put some work behind their words, we could treat a dozen small patches by carefully excavating them. So why don't we tell the petition signers to put their work where their words are and get out and dig them? And I think that it would be great if the Knotweed Committee could do such a thing. You've got 125 names of people who are interested in it. Wow.
Rob, that is one of our goals. And we have put out some through our group. We have tried to, we have one person who's interested in digging. I have 2 replaced knees, so digging is not really much of an option for me at 68 with 2 new knees. But I can certainly, and it's hard to find those really small patches at this point. Most of them are probably too big to dig, but I'm willing to look at that because that is the ideal, is to get it when it's small and get rid of it.
Well, I drive Prescott Road every day, and there's at least a half a dozen patches that are dining table size or smaller.
Some riverfront area.
And it is, all of that is either riverfront or wetlands. But I think the Concom would be willing to work with a volunteer committee to get those addressed by excavation, hand tool excavation rather than by spraying.
We would prefer to do that.
So, and I understand that the committee may want a multi-pronged approach, but I didn't hear one word about that in the presentation to the select board. All I heard was spray, spray, spray.
No, that is not true. We was very clear about the first approach that we want to have is to dig out the small areas, to map it and to dig out the small areas with a group of people.
I worked late last night.
So anyway, that's the first line of defense with knotweed, is to early detection and removing the small patches as they pop up.
The second point I want to make. The second point I want to make is that signage, as Mary Jo said, is vital.
That makes sense to me too. Yep.
Keep in mind, knotweed is edible. People can forage it. They can forage it in the summer for the top shoots, and they can forage it in the spring for the sprouts.
True.
We're spraying a chemical on it. I think we have an ethical obligation, probably as well as a legal obligation, to tell people, don't eat this.
Yeah, I agree. I think that makes sense to me, is to put signage out. It's a very simple thing to do.
And until everything like that is in place, I am opposed to spraying.
Mhm.
But when it's in place, then we really have to look at that. Is that the only option? I hate to think that it is, but who knows?
Well, thank you.
All right, we'll take Mary Jo, one more short comment. I think we're getting to the end of this discussion.
Yes, we have, our major focus is on early detection and removal. And we are trying, we've had 2 seminars, one at the Shutesbury Town Hall for iNaturalist mapping. We have instructions on iNaturalist mapping. This has been on Nextdoor with asking people to sign up. So I hope I will repost, sign up instructions for that. Because what we really need and the best way and our major focus is on early detection and removal. And we would love if people who are opposed to spraying, which we absolutely understand why people would be, it's actually very difficult, would sign up for this. We have had um, 2 seminars, one at the Shutesbury Town Hall and one on Zoom on using iNaturalist and early detection. It is our primary way of stopping it, but we can't do it alone. It's a great thing even for young people to do. Go out and map this. It's very easy to use iNaturalist. So yes, I'll send that out, and I do hope that more people sign up, because we haven't had, especially in Shutesbury, we've had people in other places, but especially in Shutesbury, we have not had people signing up to do mapping, which doesn't require any physical. You can just take a picture, you can go home, and you can do it. So yes, I will send that out, and I do hope that people sign up for that. Thank you.
Could I just
Thank you.
add one last comment briefly?
Okay.
Thanks. I appreciate that, Mary Jo. And I think that there's a lot of people who are interested in being a part of this. I have heard some feedback from people in the community saying that they've reached out to the Knotweed Coalition and felt like, they didn't get much of a response, is kind of the feedback I got. So I just want to give you that feedback, that I think I've heard that from 3 different people who've said, that they were interested in getting involved and felt somehow not invited or welcome. So I want to speak for those people. I don't know the details. I just want to give you that feedback. I think that given the concerns of some of the folks in the community about glyphosate spraying, one of the ethical dilemmas is that if people start using iNaturalist and start flagging knotweed near their properties, they may be concerned that that'll then be used for glyphosate spraying that they won't have any control over. So I think that it would be really helpful to get this process clarified so that the public has some trust and can kind of participate wholeheartedly without any reservations. So that's just my thought about it. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for all of your comments. It's a topic that obviously people care about, and that's great. But I think our next move in terms of the commission is a site visit. I think that's what we need. So Pam and Jan, you work together, and we'll set something up.
Great, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time. I know you all put in so much time for this and everything else that you do.
Well, it's a good one. I worked on a project where we built a floodplain actually along a trip to the Fort River, and it was a 40 foot wide by like 150 foot long bank, and it was all covered with knotweed. But the idea of the project was to actually lower the elevation of to create a floodplain. So we were able to excavate down like 3 to 4 feet in most areas, and we did get rid of the knotweed in that large of an area. But yeah, but the thing was we trucked off all the soil. We were removing soil, a huge amount of soil. So in most sites, you don't usually dig down 4 feet in that much of an area to do it, but it did work. But anyway, okay, so thank you very much. Commission, I don't think we really have anything else. It's kind of late already. It's 9:11. Jan, if we have any other site visits, let us know. I'm not sure,
Before you get away from me, September 8th, 10 o'clock, Mark Whiteman for his
Oh.
easement walk.
Did we
And
already- let me see.
touring the bog at Kestrel is September 12th at 3:45.
Okay, so I didn't have the 8th on my calendar. Is that something that just came at, what time did you say that was?
We just got that one today. So
Okay.
that was September 8th at 10 a.m.
That works for me. I'll add it to my calendar.
Okay.
And that's that lot 151, Mark. Is that where we're going?
I don't know the address. Do you know it, Scott?
No, I don't. I'd have to go back and see if he provided that.
I sent him
And-
an email and asked, but we'll get it.
This is Mark Whitman with the easement, right?
Oh, is it Whitman? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that it's called lot 151. I don't know if it even has a number there on Leverett Road, but it's right on Leverett Road. But okay, I know where it is. But yeah, you guys can. When he submitted for an amendment to an ORAD, and there were some maps that went around at that point. Anyway, we'll figure out where it is. I can send you guys the maps for that. But okay, 10 a.m. on the 8th. Sounds good. All right. If there's nothing else, we need a motion to adjourn.
So motioned.
Second?
I'll second.
I guess we lost Bob. I don't know where he went, but there's 3 of us, so we can close the meeting.
Good thing,
Colin-
otherwise we'd have to stay here forever.
I know.
Aye.
Rowan
Aye.
and Wilson, aye. All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.